Hi, it's FINN SURMAN, tuning in from Portland, Oregon here on the Unused Subs, featuring the best question asker, Tom Doyle.
All right, so we're going to start off today by just mentioning the fact that we're all in different kit.
And doesn't happen often, does it?
No,
Hasn't happened
typically it's
yet.
up on the wall. This is in partnership with the PFA, so the Australian PFA. Shout out Jules and Nick who got in contact with us about it. And they have partnered with what's called the Great Save. So it's all about recycling old football kit, trying to reduce usage and give kit a new life, and your one in particular. I imagine that's had more than 2 lives, mate.
Yeah, I got this in 98. Obviously, it's a Croatia 98 World Cup shirt. And I was 7th form at Edgewater College when the World Cup was taking place, and I got this shirt, and being a 7th former, you wear mufti. You're not in school uniform. This got an absolute hammering in my 7th form year. And obviously the Croatians placed 3rd in that World Cup. They did incredibly well. So, yeah, I've had it since 98, still going in 2025.
That's brilliant. That's almost 30 years old.
And I got it big because I thought I was going to grow into it.
But compared to
as a 44-year-old man, I still can't.
I was going to say, we've gone opposites.
Yeah.
I've had to go replacement shirt here because mine's on the wall because that was my debut all whites jersey. And
is
it
a
no
medium?
longer fits. It's a schmedium.
Schmedium.
And I'm a Marge.
You might be able to work it over one of your massive arms, but that's about it.
But yeah, that was my debut jersey, that one there. I don't know too much about this one. This is a retro all whites jersey.
Do you want me to give you the
Yeah,
lowdown
give
on
us
that?
a rundown.
So Puma's done a retro all whites kit, and it's based on the 1982 World Cup
Very
kit.
cool. I like it a lot.
As I understand, this is not just a replica. They're going to play, hopefully, touch wood, a game or 2 in this kit this year, which I think would be awesome, mate. I can't wait to see them in that.
Yeah,
it's comfy.
It's loose, but not as loose.
Yeah,
as
not
this
as loose.
bed
Well, not
sheet.
as tight as that.
Yeah.
Nike really went for the tight All Blacks jersey.
They were worried about Italian defending.
Yeah.
They're shirt pull.
What about this one?
I love a third kit. I reckon the third kit's the most adventurous, a bit of colour, breaking away from tradition. This is a Bayern Munich third kit from a couple of years ago, back to the German pastels. My mate works at Adidas over in Hansenaaracht, which is just outside
You could have
Nuremberg.
said anything, mate.
Yeah, I know. Well, I think that's how you say it properly.
Maybe Tom would understand it, having spent some time in
great
Germany.
place.
So, so this is a Henrik special, but I just love a third kit, mate. Absolutely brilliant.
Yeah, nice. Oh, well, we're doing our part.
Go check out the PFA's website. It'll be up there. You can learn more about it. But yeah, just get the old kits out. Give them a bit of life, mate.
Yeah. Hey, before we bring in FINN SURMAN, his old team finally had a win at the weekend, a 2-1 victory, hard-fought victory over the Newcastle Jets away. That was their first win in 2.5 months.
It's a long
Before
time.
that victory, it was January 20 against
Away.
MacArthur?
Yes.
We're all fully aware of how difficult the season's been, but that just underlines how impossible it's been for Chiefy and his roster. There are a number of reasons why it's been difficult. I think now's a good opportunity for us to discuss it with just 4 games to go in the regular season and the Phoenix out of the running for the playoffs. What are the reasons as you two see it, why they haven't quite made the grade this season?
I think it's the bigger picture. I think they're losing a lot of young players, quality players that have been brought through the academy, that have done well in the first team, and now they're sending them offshores, and then they're not replacing them with quality foreigners. I'll be really keen to pick Finn's brain about what it's like working with a really experienced senior group of players that enable you to make that next step up in your career. I just think they've really struggled with those replacements at the moment, and that's really showing on the field. So I'd say poor recruitment, and I'd say there's just too many youth players in there at the moment. You've got quality local players in Payne, Rufa and Costa. You start getting a few injuries with them, you're really looking like a half strength team.
And an illness to Roofs as well,
correct,
which clearly did not help.
But I'd be
Payne was
frustrated.
injured for a wee while as well, mate.
I'd be frustrated because I am a Phoenix fan as well. I'm allowed to sit on the fence now. I don't play anymore, but I'm
Professionally neutral is the term
professionally
I've
neutral.
adopted on.
Yeah. But I'm a bit disappointed. They're getting rid of these players and they're not replacing them with quality, and they're expecting all these young guys to come in and do exactly what's been done before without the same group around them. So I think that's where they're struggling.
The overarching feeling for mine is just disappointment. I think at the start of the season, I had them pinned in the top 6, and genuinely, that's not just kind of Kiwi propaganda. Thought that they were more than capable of getting back into the top 6.
I thought they were a top 4 side.
Yeah, I might have even said top 4 as well. And I was really looking forward to a all-Kiwi playoff match. I thought we might get a home and away Auckland-Wellington semi-final, and that would have been fantastic. Just hasn't played out that way. If you look at it, there's a huge amount of change between the squad last year and the squad this year, and some of that's down to not retaining players, some of that's down to being successful and having players bought off you, which is part of the operation model. You know, that's something that we need to factor in and we need to see as a success. So if you are creating players that are interesting other markets, then that is a good thing. To Tom's point, I think it's a good one. When you're talking about the young players this season, you look at Alex Paulson, you look at FINN SURMAN, you look at Ben Old. They had been in the first team environment for 3 years at that point. They were introduced as 17, 18-year-olds. They were then sold as 21-year-olds or 20-year-olds. The players this season, Matt Sheridan, Isaac Hughes, if you look at Luke Brooks-Smith, Nathan Walker, they're still in the first year. We can't compare them to the likes of Oldie and Finn and AP, at least for another 2-3 years. So they're just too early on in their developmental arc. And I could see what Chiefy was trying to do. He wanted to transition from what was a squad that he'd inherited under Ufi to his own identity. Just got the feeling that it was such a large amount of change, and the challenges that he faced were compounded because of what had happened in the off-season.
Yeah. At one point this season, maybe even more than once, we've seen imports sitting on the bench to start a game. That's not what you buy your imports for.
I think the second derby was the game you're probably thinking about.
Yeah, you had not only Ishiga, Nagasawa, but you also had Oluwayemi on the bench. 3 imports, a goalkeeper import on the bench. I just thought, this is, in a nutshell, what's gone so horribly wrong with the Wellington Phoenix. Yet, you can talk all you want about the young Kiwi guys who have gone off to greener pastures, but if you want the young Kiwis to learn from foreigners coming into the side, they're not even playing. It's so disappointing. Yeah, because like I was like you, I had high hopes for this season because I really enjoyed the way that the Phoenix played last season under Chiefy, the ability to play out. But then that wasn't replicated because Josh, and I suppose to an extent Albie in goal when he came in, they can't play out as well as Alex Paulson. But to Scott Wootton's point last week, nobody can, because he's basically the best in the world with ball at feet in goal. So, you know, and maybe that's another point as well, Tom, the inability to show flexibility with a game plan that might suit the players that you have. They sort of stuck firm and fast to, we're going to play out, we're going to attract the opposition, create spaces in behind, but they weren't able to replicate the same style of game as they did last year.
Well, I think, and I've got a lot of respect for Scott. I think he's a great player. I disagree with him a little bit there. They've got foreign spots. You're telling me there's not a keeper that can't play with their feet like Alex Paulson? They could have replicated that. I just don't think they recruited that well, to be honest. Their imports weren't as effectful and impactful as they were probably hoping. Mix that in with players leaving, so you're replacing not like for like. You're replacing probably less quality for what you've left. You're going to get worse results, right? That's just simple math if you're playing the same way with a worse team. But I think looking from the fans' point of view and seeing how well Auckland are doing,
that's the big issue as well.
It's compiling on this pressure and this angst of, you know, like, why are they doing it so well? Why are we doing it this way? And I think that's going to compound on the club a bit. And there's going to be a lot of pressure in the off-season for them to get it right. Especially now watching, again, like I said, how Auckland are doing. They're getting more eyes on the screen. The players that were, or the fans, I should say, that were watching the Phoenix have now switched. They're with Auckland, so their fan base is probably halved as well, right? I think screen time as well is up 44%. So all eyes are on Auckland, and Phoenix are just a little bit forgotten about at the moment.
So how do they get it right ahead of the next season, the Wellington Phoenix?
The long-term kind of planning, I think there's a need for a project to be committed to, and if it is doubling down on what Chiefy's doing, then let's kind of go through the turbulence and let's trust that we get out the other side and it's going to be better. I know that he was at pains to say that he had a effective pre-season now it's about getting into the next pre-season and really ironing out what will be the issues, perhaps looking at the recruitment, as Tom said, and saying, well, we're potentially going to have some spots become available, so let's really target those, make sure we get the right players in, let's understand what's a priority for us, and then commit to that and invest in that for 2 to 3 seasons, because I think that's where the reward is going to be.
Spoons, just on that as well, you've got the World Cup coming up, so you've got 5 or 6 players that want to be playing the best possible football from that Phoenix team. The likes of Payne, the likes of Rufa, Costa, the list goes on. But then now, if you look at the positives for the Phoenix, they've just had all these youth players get game time experience in the league. They've got a massive off-season to capitalise on that, and then look at, okay, you might have a similar team, but it's a more experienced team to what they've dealt with. There's less pressure, the results aren't going to compound because you're going to start anew, and then maybe it is an opportunity then for growth for that team if they decide to stick with what they're doing.
I think for next season, what I would love for us to see, just again, neutral hat on, is 2-3 derbies that we can look forward to and know that there's going to be that angst, that spice, that bite, and that true competitiveness. I think going into the 3rd derby, there was a suggestion that Rojas was coming back. Rufa was returning and desperate to get involved. And it was a big moment. Like, you had the way the Phoenix finished the 2nd derby, they got back into the match. I think Auckland had dominated large parts of that, but there was still this like true contest that we were looking forward to in the 3rd derby, and want to have that back for next season, because the tide's rising and we want to make sure that we've got 2 sides that are intriguing and that are capturing the Kiwi audience, because football is going to go on a roller coaster over the next 18 odd months. We've got the World Cup coming.
Club World Cup. It's all there. It's all there.
Yeah, we now need to capture it, and we need to, I think, be confident about what it is we've got before us. And I'm sure the Phoenix are looking up at Auckland, but also internally and saying, all right, now how do we get back into this? Because we had a great year last year. This year has been a misstep. We need to make sure that the trajectory is still headed in the right direction.
And one of the guys responsible for the Wellington Phoenix dropping off is FINN SURMAN, and he joins us now on the Unused Subs. Did you have any idea what you'd do to the Wellington Phoenix when you left?
Yeah, do you feel guilty?
No. Do I feel guilty? No, they've been unlucky this season. You've asked me the tough question straight away.
We were just thinking about
it's
you,
not a tough
AP,
question.
and Oldie,
We're just sort of
mate.
laughing, mate. We're having a joke.
Yeah.
Nah. There's obviously a lot of boys that moves from last season. What they like 6 starters or 6 or 7 starters from last year's semi-final. So it's always going to be a tough job to replace that. I think they've been unlucky with a lot of things this season with injuries and all that. But yeah, I mean, hopefully they can do a lot better this next year.
What were your thoughts on the replacements, Finn?
No,
The questions are getting tougher.
I don't know what to say.
I don't know why Finn's the one that's getting grilled out of all our guests.
Finn, what did you do, man? What did you do?
Getting hammered. Yeah. No. Didn't you have Scotty on last week? You should have asked Scotty this week.
Yeah, we were soft on Scotty, mate. We're coming after you.
Oh, we were too busy asking him about David Ball.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure he had some good stories.
Yeah, he did.
And some that he wasn't allowed to share as well.
With you in the States, mate, how hard is it to keep tabs on the A-League and what the Wellington Phoenix are doing? Because I'm assuming they don't have it live on TV over there.
Nah, it's not live on TV. I have to find a stream somewhere. But to be
legal
honest,
stream, legal stream.
Yeah,
of course.
legal.
Respecting the rights here, Finn.
Yeah, of course. The time is not. The time difference is not terrible. You guys are a day ahead, but only between 3 and 5 hours, depending on the what do you call it?
The time difference.
Daylight savings and stuff.
Yeah.
So I've probably watched half the Phoenix games this year.
Oh yeah.
It's a bit harder when they play in Australia, but when they're at home, it's a lot easier to watch, and I've enjoyed it, to be fair.
I think the same goes for watching the MLS. I think your games kick off around about midday our time, mate, and they're on Sundays. It's quite a nice watch. You kind of finish your Premier League, catch up, and then you go into the MLS, and then it's a precursor to A-League as well. Works pretty nicely, Finn. So good news for the World Cup coming up, Jake, as well.
Yeah. Which you will be a part of, Finn. Look, you made the interesting call to abscond, renege on the semi-final and the final of the OFC World Cup qualifiers.
It's just, he keeps getting them in the face, mate. Yeah.
Well, no. But look, he's got a 15-month period where he can bet into the States,
Yes.
and then obviously you play the competition in your own backyard and be very, very comfortable. So when you...
Kind of like a sleeper agent, is that what you're calling him?
Maybe.
Yeah. Well.
When you considered everything, you know, coming back and playing in those matches versus cementing a first-team spot with Portland, what was the thought process for you, Finn?
I spoke a lot with both my club coaches and Bays about kind of what the best thing was for everyone, and kind of came to the conclusion that it was better to stay in Portland during this time. Like, we'd only played maybe 2 or 3 games of the season at the time, and I just got into playing in the starting team, and we had a couple of boys coming back from injury and that sort of stuff, and I kind of wanted to, you know, solidify my place there, and I think that the centre back pool we have with the national team is pretty strong at the moment, and so in a sense, me not being there didn't make a difference. The boys kept 2 clean sheets and played pretty well. You know, we've got good depth there, and players that are quality. So we basically decided as a group that the best thing was to stay in Portland and continue to try and play, and with the hopes of, you know, give myself the best chance of being in the World Cup squad.
I think I agree with Bays in that call as well, because the plan isn't for now. It's 15 months away, or however long the World Cup is. So
peaking at
if
the
you
right
can
time.
build players up to be coming into form at that time as well, that has to play on their mind, because say you bring Finn back and someone comes in and plays well, then what does that mean for his next 12 months, you know? So I actually agree with Bays on that, calling yourself for staying back and solidifying a role, because that is the most important thing leading into that World Cup is game time.
As our resident defender, Doyley, when you look at the centre-back depth...
Technically, I'm a defender too, yeah.
Well, focus on me here.
Outfielders. We'll talk about outfielders, shall we? Yeah, so you and I, you just lean back so Doyle
I'll see you
and
in
I
5
can
minutes,
have a
Finn. Right, see
chat. You know, when we qualified for the last World Cup in South Africa, the centre back strength was incredible, right? Because you had Nelly, and Siggy didn't even get a game, and
Winston,
Tommy. And the same thing is happening now. So, like, how would you navigate that minefield, given that Finn is going to be playing for the next year or so in the MLS, and you've got still Tommy, Boxy, Nando Peinecker, Tyler Bindon, Finn Surman? Who gets the go?
Well, I think you look at it in 2 sides. You've got the older end of that scale, Boxy and Tommy Smith. I mean, they're at, you know, the end of their careers. Injuries are more susceptible, I guess, or they're more injury prone at that level in their careers. So I think having everyone performing at that high level gives you that ability to not have to pivot too much. So the people that will be in the driving seat will be the people that are playing week in, week out leading into that World Cup. So my focus would be on keeping fit and getting games, because those will be the players that they focus on.
Welcome back into the
Thank you,
conversation,
mate.
Jacob.
Hi, Finn.
Finn, is there anyone you want us to wipe out of the list of players that we mentioned?
No chance.
Doyley's thinking
No
about making a
chance.
comeback, mate. We can take care of him if you want.
Yeah, you should.
What's he ever done to you?
Nothing.
Hey, mate, at the moment you're dealing with a bit of a weird one in the president chucking tariffs on everything. Are you a bit
Oh,
fortunate
man.
that he didn't put a tariff on you before you moved from New Zealand to the
Yeah,
US?
I'm
But
unfortunate. My what do you call it? Stock portfolio doesn't like it, but it's all right.
take us
Hopefully
back
it
to
recovers.
take us back to the move, because you moved mid-season for the MLS. It was obviously the end of the
Yeah.
season for the A-League. It was part of what was a really profitable period for the Phoenix. Paulson, Old, Surman all depart for compensation for the Phoenix. Was Portland the only option on the table? And then I guess the second part to that is, what steered you in the direction of Portland to ultimately put pen to paper?
At the time, I was speaking to a few different places, a few different clubs in the US and a couple across Europe. Spoke to a few coaches and that sort of stuff, and to be honest, Portland was I don't know how to say it without saying a cliche, but they gave me the best feeling when I spoke to them, and spoke to the general manager, the technical director, and then the coaching staff, and I really liked basically what they had to say. When I looked at the options that were kind of presented in front of me, um, I thought that the MLS was the best of the options, to be honest. I think it was a league that was a good step up from where I was, but also not too big that I wouldn't have a chance of playing and that sort of stuff. And like you say, I moved halfway through the season in the MLS, and that brings its own challenges, being quote unquote like a young centre back. That makes it a little bit difficult to break into the team. You know, it's not like I'm going to come off the bench for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes each game and slowly adjust and prove to staff and that sort of stuff that I can play. So it definitely took a bit of time to adjust and gain the trust of my players and my coaches. But in all honesty, I'm really grateful for the, what was it, 3 or 4 months I had there where maybe I wasn't playing. I only got one game where I wasn't playing, and I was able to get used to my teammates, get used to training, get used to just the environment. And I think that's actually set me up quite well for this season, because I knew coming in what level I had to be at and what I had to do to essentially get a starting job at this stage of the year.
Where was the other interest? You don't have to name teams, but what were the leagues and nations around the world for people who may not know?
I spoke to another team in the MLS, and I spoke to a team from Denmark and 1 or 2 from England. But like I say, the best option for me was Portland, and the reviews that I got from how do I say, like the people that I trusted, the opinions of, the best option for me was Portland.
There's a couple of Kiwis who have walked this path before, and some who are still doing it. Bill Tuiloma is at Charlotte. Ryan Nelson, obviously, he's a big one. Michael Boxall's been there for, what is it now, a decade with Minnesota or something like that. So are these guys that you leaned on when you were wondering who to go with?
Yeah, I spoke to a couple of people, a couple of players to ask about the MLS. A couple of people who have coached there as well, and to be honest, I just believe in the league, and I think it's growing a lot. There's heavy investment over here from owners and from clubs into teams. A lot of the times on the attacking side, so a lot of the attacking players in this league are top level. But yeah, I just think it's a growing league, and the standard is pretty good.
Mate, speaking of that, because I get asked this question all the time, but you've now played in the league, so you could probably answer it a lot better than I could. But what is the step-up difference from the A-League to the MLS? We talk about those attacking players that you see more in the MLS than you do in the A-League. Is it something that was quite intimidating, or was it something you were able to fit into because it's quite similar in quality?
It's a good question, and I think it's always hard to specifically pinpoint something that makes a league of a higher level, in my opinion. The easiest way to describe it is the intensity and the quality of players. You know, like I said, the attackers that these teams bring in are like top with the DP model that they have here, and the salary cap.
DP being designated player, Finn, just for those that might not be aware. So that's someone that sits outside the salary cap and can get more investment.
Oh, I'm glad you clarified that, because I watched some...
What? No, keep going, Finn. We're not getting into what his interpretation...
Didn't mean to drag it down.
No.
Didn't mean to drag it down.
You go, Finn.
Apologies.
You do you.
Yeah.
You do you.
Yeah, no, they're
Thanks,
they're always like the good quality players, and they bring like a lot of flair and quality to the league. Is that scary, you ask? Not so much. I think it's more of a challenge, and you just kind of embrace it. And in terms of the difference, like I say, the intensity, and you know, players can play off 1-2 touch a little bit faster. I'd say the difference in the league is that this league is very transitional. Probably because of the quality of attacking players, they want to go, and Americans, I think in general, want to have like excitement in their games. So games are very end to end sometimes. So I'd say those are the kind of the biggest step ups and the biggest differences.
So you found the A-League a bit more defensive minded as opposed to MLS, or is that putting words?
Yeah, kind of, maybe not defensive minded, but I don't know how to describe it. I'd say the players are closer in level. Do you know what I mean? There's not as big a disparity between the quote unquote quality of the attackers versus maybe the defenders or how the teams play. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's no way a knock on the defenders, because there's quality defenders here that improve because they have to go up against these attackers every week. But I'd just say because of the levels of investment, especially with the DP model,
Designated
player model, you get some quality attackers.
Sorry, guys.
Ignore him, Finn, please.
Just being a muppet in the corner here.
Yeah,
it is childish. I apologise, Finn, and to everybody watching.
Dragging it down. This is a quality podcast, Finn. A couple of questions from my wonderful wife, Chrissy. You picked number 20, and she wanted to know, 1, why 20, and 2, was that hard to get your hands on with someone else occupying that at the time?
Nah, they just offered me the numbers that were available, essentially, and the numbers that I wanted. My favourite number is number 5, but that was taken already. So
me too.
Yeah.
I go a 5 or a 12.
12? I think 12's honking.
Yeah, well, the
I
reason...
wore 12. What are you talking about?
Okay, so
Yeah.
you and me.
Is that reserve keeper?
I feel like we're all connected.
Yeah, Tama took number 1. So
See, my thinking about picking 12 is like, if you're wearing 12 and you're starting, people will be like, oh, this guy's shit, he's from the reserves bench, and they've had to put him in, and then you dazzle them with your skill. And they're like, oh man, we got that number 12 so wrong. That was my logic. Finn's screwing up his face.
Not sure I rate it.
is that a no from you, Finn?
It's a no from me.
Is
that why you wore 12? Oh, no, wait.
No, because I was the reserve goalkeeper, so number 1 was taken. That's what happened.
I was 19, which is reserve
19?
left back. Yeah. Stuck with me for life. Perfect.
And this is why we're on the unused subs.
20, by the way, good topic for you as well. When you went to Germany, what number were you? And
I can't remember. Oh, 19. Oh, I can't remember.
Yeah,
I played like 4 games. I didn't keep a shirt either.
Speaking of all whites numbers, number 27. That's not even in the extended World Cup squad. How'd you land on 27?
Because I was a late call-up for that first all-white squad.
Which one was
Anthony, the all-white squad. We went and played Uzbekistan. I was like a week into my pro contract, and everything happened in one time. Here's a 3-year Phoenix contract. Come and play for the all-whites, and here's an extra number we've got lying around kind of thing. And then I ended up starting that game as well against Uzbekistan.
Uzbekistan?
In Uzbekistan, yeah. That's the shirt that I wore.
So that was
This
20,
shirt-
27 for each
that's my
hour
debut
that you
shirt.
had to travel?
That is tiny. This shirt is so small.
Yeah.
What were you weighing in at when you wore that shirt?
That's why I had to borrow one of their ones off the shelf, because it doesn't fit me. I would have been like 78 kegs there, playing left
78.
back, up and down.
And what are you at the moment?
Oh, circa 90.
Yeah. He's on that. He's
Wow,
on that
we-
Nathan Cleary, Ollie Sale
he's
workout.
bulking up.
mate.
Jack.
I did the COVID bulk and then just forgot to cut.
Yeah, that happens, Finn. Don't worry, mate. You only do half of what you're supposed to when you get over 30, mate.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Second question from Chrissy. She got really concerned.
It's like a Chrissy takeover.
I know. She got really
You can't come up with your own questions.
No, exactly. She got really concerned that Tyler Binder was sitting his driver's license when he came back to New Zealand. Yeah. So just making sure you're okay. You can drive yourself around in Portland. You've got your driver's license over there.
I've got my New Zealand driver's license. I still need to get my US driver's license.
Full or restricted?
I got my full New Zealand.
Yeah, there you go.
I got that maybe a year ago or year and a half
How
ago.
often, Finn, have you tried driving on the other side of the road? Is it something that you do regularly?
Actually,
or what?
yes, that
Well, I have
is
to do it every day.
Well, yeah, I know. So, like, you're not sort of like passenger in the...
Now get aggressive with him, Finn. Yeah, he's throwing you a grenade early in the
Please don't
conversation.
get aggressive
Yeah,
with me. You're like
yeah,
6'7", mate. I'm tiny.
No, well, I have to do it every day, drive on the wrong side of the road every day, but it definitely took a bit of getting used to at the start. There was 1 or 2 times I went to turn left, and I did a hard left instead of a long left, because I'm obviously supposed to be on the right hand side of the road, and so I drove for 20 meters on the wrong side of the road before I saw an oncoming car, and I had to quickly swerve back into my lane.
See, and this is why I asked the question,
It's a
because
good
it's confusing,
question.
man. It's confusing.
What's the best car that rocks up to your training?
Yeah, go on.
Graham?
What's in the car park?
Someone Last year, Evander had a Maserati. I'm not a car guy, so I don't know what it would be called, but it was like this light blue Maserati. It's quite nice.
What was the
Yeah.
Phoenix car park like?
Not that nice. I think
Who had the best
we had a
car?
sponsorship with like Hyundai.
Oh,
So
yes.
people would get a few of those.
There was
I
always a
had, like,
Santa
an
Fe
Outback.
flying around, eh? Yeah.
Yes, one
Yeah.
of those. I think Ollie Sale had a Santa Fe.
Yeah.
So we all just got a ride with him to train.
Well, and see, this is another aspect to the question I was asking Finn. I thought maybe you were carpooling or maybe had
Oh,
a
right.
driver or something. I don't know.
Well, actually,
No,
we
not
have
quite
heard, we have heard that you are trying to go bilingual, mate. That you're trying to pick up a bit of
Bilingual?
Spanish.
Who
Yeah.
said that? No, I'd have to because half my team is from South America, so a lot of them, their first language is Spanish or Portuguese. So I'm trying to learn some Spanish words. I've learned a few phrases or simple instructions that I can use, but
Swear words?
Oh, of
different.
course.
Yeah,
Has
oh,
to be. Yeah.
yeah, a couple. Got to
Just
be
to
careful, though,
emphasise a
in this
point,
league.
right, Finn? Yeah, you
Yeah.
just want to make sure you get that blunt force with it.
Exactly.
Tell us about the playing surface at Providence Park, because
Yes.
it's an artificial turf. And look, all professional footballers will spend time on an artificial turf, be it in training. So what's that been like, getting used to, adapting to that surface?
It's definitely a little bit different, like you say. It is different. A ball does bounce differently, especially if it's dry. Um, and it is strange. Like there's a few clubs around or in the league that play on turf. We train on grass, and our home games are on turf. So it does take a little bit of getting used to. They wet it for the games, which helps because, to be fair, turf when it's wet is not bad at all. Like it skids around and it moves fast. I would prefer if it was grass, but it's just kind of something you just get on with. I think I'm fortunate, like growing up in the academy in Wellington, we played a lot on turf, and so maybe my body's used to it. I'm kind of used to it. I know some other players struggle with it a little bit more, but to be honest, everyone seems to just get on with it.
The worst part about Astro, as you can probably know, you'll be doing a few side tackles at centre back, is those grazes that you get down
On
your
the-
leg.
yeah.
And they stick to your undies and your sheets at night and
yuck.
weeping.
Yuck.
That was the only
that's
thing
the
I
worst.
hated about Astro was
Yeah.
the grazes.
Yeah. You get into bed and then you wake up about an hour and a half later and you're just stuck to the sheet.
Stuck to the sheets.
So
yeah.
bad.
Yeah, you have to clean it, obviously. Maybe.
Yeah. Thank you, Finn.
Got to be careful. With it.
The wound
sure
or
you
the
clean it.
sheets?
Is it a pro tip or?
I
yeah.
didn't
Well,
know you
both.
needed plaster,
Both.
sorry.
Both. I hope you clean your sheets.
But late now, isn't it?
All right, now you need to grow up. Hey, the difference between last season and this season, you talked about the transition, almost the benefit of just sitting there waiting, adjusting, getting used to the league. But you have started with a hiss and a roar. Obviously, a lot of confidence shown in you by the manager. You've done really well against, from what I could see, the Galaxy and the Rapids in particular, mate. So what has been, I guess, the process around that? Was it a good pre-season? Did you sit down and have a chat with the management team and Phil Neville and kind of get an idea about your responsibility for the season?
Well, speaking last year to the staff, I would ask them, what do you need to see from me? What am I not doing? Blah blah blah, and know what's expected of me when I come back into preseason. And things started well. First 3 or 4 days of preseason was good, and then I hurt my knee, so I was out for it was like 4.5 weeks. So basically the whole of preseason.
What did
which
you do,
kinda
mate?
killed. Hurt my MCL on my left leg.
A little
Low
strain on
grade.
it, was it?
Yeah, that's a little strain, but it just took a long time to basically come back. And so that kind of killed my preseason a bit, which the original plan was to obviously have a strong preseason and get in the team. That changed things a bit. Not fortunately, but by fortune, one of our other players got injured in the last game of preseason. So first game of the season, I stepped in, and I think from having the benefit of being in Portland for the last 3 months in the previous year, I knew kind of what I had to do and what was expected of me, and kind of each week as the week goes by, I'd speak to the staff and say kind of just what's expected and what they want me to continue doing and keep working on, and basically just build from there. I think I'm a pretty, what do you call it, like fast learner, and I think that helps in these sort of situations when you kind of get not thrown in, but thrown into the deep end essentially, and basically sink or swim moments. I think that is like the biggest thing that I've done to have a decent start to the season.
The Timbers fans have been known for being rowdy. Like they have their own little intricacies and little rituals. I think is it man of the match gets a freshly sawn log or something like that you can hold up, mate, which I do love, by the way. Americans are quirky like that.
We do have some cool traditions like that. We have Timber Joey, who there's this massive log down by the home, essentially the Timbers Army, which is like our active support end, and every time we score a goal, he'll chop a log off, and that's what's presented at the end of the games in front of the fans.
With a chainsaw?
Speak to us through, because this is something
that doesn't sound safe.
Not in the A-League, so
yeah.
Timber Joey is obviously a big lumberjack, and he's got a beefy chainsaw that he's just got pitch
massive
side?
chainsaw. Yeah, and he'll walk around the pitch and around the stadium, just revving it up, getting the fans going. And then if we score, he walks over to the log and in front of all the fans, chops it, and then everyone cheers and that. And then, like I say, at the end of the game, if you score, you get your log and get to.
And then what happens to it? You take it home? Does it get like imprinted or anything like that?
You get. I think they're right on it, the date and that sort of stuff. And then it's basically yours to do what you want. I know some boys have made, some of the strikers that score heaps of goals get a lot of these logs, and I'm sure people have made tables out of it. Some people will make
Lockwood
homes, little what do you call it, like coffee table, out of these logs, and something pretty cool.
Would you make a coffee table?
Yeah,
what would you make?
I honestly think that would be the play. Get it kind of, what do you call it, furnished?
Just stack them up.
Word?
Yeah.
Yeah, it depends on how many I can score.
Imagine that though, just to kind of come in. This is from my goal from that year. Yeah. No, this is and that one over there is from that goal there. Yeah. So you're just kind of like giving people the tour of you.
Yeah. In fact, this house was from the 24-25 season.
Do they take one back if you get an own goal?
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, let's not find that out.
Kits. MLS always has, I reckon, some of the best kits. They're a lot more adventurous than your European clubs. There's obviously third kits that you guys have, but
when can we get a shirt?
Yeah, thank you.
I can sort one out.
Let's cut to the chase, mate.
Let's cut to the chase. New ones?
Yeah, you got a special kit this year, right?
Yeah, 50th year. So we have this awesome home kit with. We're talking about it just before with.
We weren't recording then, Finn, so we're talking.
Oh, right.
You're bringing the audience into this.
Our home kit is awesome. We've got the rings representing each of the years of the club, and it's just an awesome kit.
Oh, rings like the inside of a log.
Yeah, the inside of a log. Each year. You've got to see it. You've got to get a photo of it and have a look, because
we'll definitely chuck one up.
Kit.
Kiwi. What about Kiwi? World Cup. Kiwi. Yes, KIWIFRUIT. No, that is not me. No.
He thought your nickname was Kiwi
because I looked like a KIWIFRUIT?
He didn't realize that that's the nickname for it.
No.
There's been some nickname confusion. I was watching the FINN SURMAN All Access behind the scenes, and one of your teammates, was it Claudio? Was like, hey, you're Kiwi, and you're like, yeah, Kiwi we're going to the World Cup, and he shows you a picture of what?
It's just a KIWIFRUIT. Everyone over there calls KIWIFRUIT a kiwi. So I think a little bit gets lost in translation. We'd call a KIWIFRUIT a kiwifruit. They just call it a kiwi, and he obviously has no idea what a kiwi bird is.
So they're not saying you look like a kiwifruit.
Yeah, so that's the other thing with the chin strap in the hair.
He's saying I look like a kiwifruit with the fuzzy hair and stuff. And this is where the translation gets hard, because obviously I can't explain that in Spanish just yet.
And you're getting more and more kind of frustrated and aggressive in English, and Claudio, I think, is jumping on this one.
Yeah. But no, they're pretty funny. These guys, they're great guys. You'd actually be surprised at how much kind of interaction and conversation you can have without actually being able to speak the language of each other. and how you can interact with people knowing 3 or 4 words in each other's language.
Speaking of foreigners, you obviously had some great foreigners down at the Phoenix as well.
Yeah.
I'd be really keen to hear your thoughts on what was the pivotal moment from the Phoenix that enabled you to kind of make that step up you have made. I hear from a lot of people, and there have been some great players, Tyler Boyd, your Sapri Singhs. Was it having a lot of quality senior players around? Was it having good foreigners to play around? Was it the coaching, the infrastructure? What was a big thing you found to enable you to make that next step to the MLS?
Good question, Tom.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah, that's an awesome question. And there's
Hey, well done, Tom.
Yeah, well done.
Great job.
I'm learning. All right.
Finn, we'll just pause here.
From
We're
Chrissy.
going to talk about Tom's question for a second.
from Chrissy.
I'm just really intrigued because there's been
That's a good question.
a
What are the
lot
key
of
ingredients,
different
right?
periods at the Phoenix that other players have thrived in. One being, for instance, when I was there, Tyler Boyd or Sapri Singh, where they were playing with a lot of senior players. Now that's changed, and Finn was there at a different time that I was. So I'm really keen to see what
But he
enabled
played
him.
alongside Scott Wootton as well.
Correct.
There's, without a doubt, there's not one thing that I can pinpoint it on. I think over my, say, 3 years in the first team, I had good coaches. I think last year especially, Chiefy instilled a lot of belief in me, and the work that we did with Griffs really helped me as well. I think he's a phenomenal coach. And then, like you say, the players, I think I'm extremely grateful and fortunate to have had the squad that we did last year. Like you say, quality visa players that bought into the team and wanted to be there and play for each other. And then the local players that we have, like Tim, Alex, Costa, who are all experienced players and have played at or play at high levels and are top quality players, I think helped my development so much. Like you say, Goran, I was playing next to Scotty and Tim for the majority of the season. Fortunately, we stayed pretty injury free for the majority of the year, and that definitely helped with stability. And then you could argue that the majority of games that the young players that were playing was kind of myself, AP, Oldie, maybe Suts if you count him. But we definitely had a core of senior players who were consistently performing to a high level throughout the season, and that I think that can only help my development, because all of a sudden I'm focusing on my job and what I have to do and bringing myself to the level that they perform at each week, and I think that certainly helped my development a lot.
Finn just nailed it, right? He was around quality, was able to step up, and then he then took off and surpassed some of them, which is amazing. And he took his opportunity. But
Well, yeah, speaking to Finn's quality, Paul Leifel tells a story of how when he came up against you in the National League...
Oh my God, he's got to let it go, honestly.
Oh, who?
What did he
Ify,
say?
still playing.
What did he
Was he
say?
still playing at the moment, at that point?
He was playing, and he said,
Must
like,
be
of all the
42 or what?
of all the young guys that he played against a number of years ago, he was shocked at how quickly you had developed and gotten really comfortable at the A-League level.
Is that because he thought I was bad when he played against me? Or
Look, I don't want to put words in his
something else?
mouth.
I want to jump
Is that
into
what he said?
something.
You can
No,
say it.
he didn't say that you played bad. He just said like he was really surprised by how good you were when you were at the Phoenix.
I don't know. I don't know if I really think about it that much. I definitely think in the academy, had a rise pretty quick. Certainly when I first arrived in my first year, I was definitely not one of the better players in my age group, that's for sure. And then, like I said, you have to have a bit of luck and a bit of fortune, I think, and belief from coaches. I kind of got put into the reserve team and was playing with boys that were a year or two older than me. And again, that helped my development, because these guys had played a year or two in the Central League and the National League already, and I just had to essentially focus on myself and get up to their level. I don't know what to say about Paul's comments.
I I like this a little bit. See, Finn's a really nice guy, and he's been a good chat so far. But you said that, and there was a saltiness that just kind of.
And I like
Was
salty.
it?
You know, it was no, but it was good, mate, because you're
I like a little bit of bite.
No, because you're a defender. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to, have a bit of teeth in the tackle. And I think we know you as this nice kind of quiet Cantabrian Kiwi kid, and that's a little example about how you tick, mate. I just saw it and you're there, and you're like, oh yeah, did he say that? Did he? All right, yeah. I think that's exactly what we need as Kiwis, and we've had this before, Finn, where we've had guests on, particularly youngsters. I think it was Ben Old, and he was talking to Huss, who's one of the technical staff at Saint Etienne, and Huss said to him, "Why are you waiting? Don't be polite. We've brought you to make us better. Go out and do that." And Ben said that's just so foreign to me as a Kiwi. You had a haircut when you first came in under Ufi. I think bowl cut comes to mind, mate. You then shaved it off, and last year we saw, I guess, FINN SURMAN 2.0. So people at home might be like, why? What difference does a haircut make? And I think when you're a centre back and you've got a particular brand that you want to project, mate, and the shaved head was kind of a signal that you were ready and that you were more than happy to go toe to toe with anyone in the A-League last year.
Yeah, I mean, it does sound a little bit stupid sometimes, but I definitely think it makes a difference whether that's for other people, how they perceive you, or how you perceive yourself. I think it probably did help me bring myself out of my shell a little bit and kind of step up and say, yeah, like I'm ready. I think it actually kind of goes back to the point you were making before about the Kiwis and how you have to actually not just wait and you have to be there and grab it, is what you were saying about Oldie. The season before, when I didn't play, one of the boys messaged me and said, like, good luck for the next season. Make sure you come back with a bit of, like, not confidence, but like a bit of cockiness, essentially, and you have to believe in yourself first before someone else is going to believe in you. You have to come back and show and believe that you're good enough to play and good enough to show people what you can actually do. And I think that is something that Oldie, myself, AP have probably developed over the last year or so, is that a little bit of that confidence and belief in yourself, and that you're going to grab opportunity and show people what you can do.
Oldie's actually gone the other way. He's sort of
He's
growing his hair out a little bit, and he's got that moustache as well. Have you seen the mo, Finn?
It's disgusting. I've seen it. He's been
Mate,
getting hammered in the group chat.
What are people saying? Come on, mate, you got to give us something.
No, he just needs to shave it. That's all I'll say.
Is
a bit like this, to be quite honest.
Oh, is that your response? So you saw the mustache, you're like, give me the chin strap.
This is the Portland sort of
the grizzled lumberjack.
Yeah, exactly. And then Oldie's gone with the French painter.
Yeah. He's not quite French yet.
Just on that, mate, because there was always a message that was delivered to us by senior All Whites. And when we were at the Olympics back in 2008, before we went out and played China, it was one of the last things that was said in the change room on the captain's run the night before. Nelly said to us, got in the middle of the room, it was impromptu, and he just said, lads, do not wait for 60 minutes to pass and then realise you're good enough. You need to believe that you're good enough from minute zero. And that was something that's always stuck with me, mate, and it kind of summarised Kiwi footballers, is that there was this politeness, there was this hesitancy at times, and then you traditionally saw Kiwis finish well, but they didn't always start well. And the second one, which I'm hoping Tom's going to be able to expand upon, is Ernie Merrick. I don't know if you were in the room when he did this, but we were playing Newcastle, and it was a pre-season game, and you have to beep this out. But he just came in at half-time. He said, I'm not going to even talk about football. He said, you're too fucking polite. You're too fucking nice. The league knows they just need to wait for 30 minutes, for 45 minutes, and then you guys are going to open the door and let them come through. Kiwis are too fucking nice. And then he said this. He kind of half got up and he said, be more of a and just turned around and walked out. And that was the half-time talk.
Yeah, Ernie was good at that. Ernie was actually great at creating this environment of, like, it is them versus us. The referees are against you. the Aussies don't want you in the league. Like, you need to come out and even though we had Aussies in the team sitting next to us, of course. But again, it was just this
but they're wearing yellow and black at that point, right?
So by default, they're
representing
Kiwis.
Yeah, exactly. So, and like that's what you bring them into your environment, they become part of the culture, and that's how it is at every club, as I'm sure it is, the same with Finn over there. But once you brought them into that environment, he created this us versus them mentality, which was great. You're a very humble guy, Finn, but you spoke about having a lot of luck, like in the early stages of your career, and I'm not sure if you'd agree with this or not, but those opportunities are actually created for everyone. Everyone has the opportunity to make a difference at some point and make that next step up. It's being in a mindset and a position where you take those chances, and I think watching Finn's career is he was given a chance on occasions and he just took them. And if you actually
always
look at
ready, right?
a lot
Always
of Kiwis'
ready.
careers and opportunities that have come, I think about, again, going back to people like Tyler Boyd or Supreet Singh, they were given a sniff and they took that sniff, but other players were there with that same opportunity to take that, but they didn't take it. And I feel like your career has just been a stack of given an opportunity, had the balls and, a bit of confidence to go and take that opportunity and then just stack up on that, and that's why you are where you are.
I think it is a big mix. I think you need a bit of fortune and to be maybe given an opportunity, but at the same time you can't discredit it. Is that you have to, like you say, take the opportunity. You have to be good enough and be ready for when that opportunity comes. It's kind of, it's definitely not. I don't think it's one or the other. I think it's a mix of both. There's like I say, like there's fortune in the sense that one of our players wasn't available for the first game of the season, and so I was next off the rank, and I did all right, so I kept playing. And so do you credit that to taking the opportunity? Yes, but you also credit it to having that little bit of fortune. But then again, it is an argument that you create your own luck through hard work and being ready. So yeah, I think it is quite a good talking point.
You're pretty early on in your Portland career, Finn, so maybe you're not brave and courageous enough to do this, but is anyone within that squad, are they able to give Phil Neville grief that he's not the Neville, like he's not the best Neville in his family?
I've not heard any of that banter thrown around yet.
Okay.
He does, mate. He pops up on Stick to Football, and he does kind of make a cameo either through Kara or Neville from time to time. So have the boys kind of jumped on that? Is there any grief that's thrown back his way at times?
Not really, to be honest. Not really. I think it's just he's held in quite a high respect at the club, so people kind of steer clear of that, I think, so far. From what I've heard.
What's it like playing underneath a Premier League player and someone who has that aura? Like he's somebody that you probably would have seen playing from a young age.
It's pretty cool. Like you say, I hold him in a high respect, and when he talks, you listen. When he gives you pointers, you listen and take it on board, because he's got the knowledge and he's got the experience. So you got to learn from it. I think that's the only way you can deal with it.
And as a guy who was a defender, how has he helped your defending?
I don't know. It's hard to pinpoint. I think he's given me a bit of a slightly different perspective as to what I maybe had at the Phoenix. I'm probably a little bit more aggressive now. We play in a slightly different way. And what I'm asked to do is slightly different, so I've been able to adapt to that and add that to my game, I guess. And we've also got a great defensive coach here, or defenders coach, in Liam Ridgewell, who I've worked with quite a lot and has been fantastic to me since coming in, helping me especially a lot last season, but also a lot also this season, getting ready for games and that sort of stuff.
I think more to Phil, but I presume Liam's this way inclined as well. It feels like Phil's not authoritarian in nature, like he's not going to dictate to you. He wants to show you. He's an enthusiast of football, kind of like he loves the game. You get the sense, and imparting knowledge for him is another step in how you make people better and how you make the game better. And there must be some energy that is infused into his communication with you.
Yeah, he's a very... What was the word there? He's got a lot of energy. He's a very
infused with energy.
Yeah, he's a very enthusiastic person. on the sidelines, at training, all that sort of stuff, and it does kind of wear off on you, I think, and that definitely G's me up a bit, and gets me, ready for whatever we're doing, and I think that it definitely puts you into a mindset that you want to do well for this coach.
Beautiful. All right, Finn, we're going into the starting 11.
And here's
don't
your
put me on the
starting
spot.
11.
What is the worst ground you've had to travel to?
There's one in Argentina that we played. It was cool ground, but the pitch was honking. I couldn't even tell you the name of it, but it was for a friendly game there before the Under-20 World Cup.
Somewhere in Argentina. What is your pre-match meal?
Pasta with cheese and salt. Lots of salt.
No
No
sauce?
sauce though. No sauce.
No sauce.
No sauce?
No sauce.
Don't
Just
like
pasta.
tomatoes?
No, I like tomatoes, but just pasta, cheese, and salt.
Good Cantabrian diet there. Who was your All Whites roommate?
Last time it was AP, I think.
Golf handicap?
I play golf.
That's
True-
a shame. With those
true
long
professional.
levers, I reckon you'd hit the ball a long way.
Yeah.
Into range a couple times, but it just goes left and right.
What's the place that you've been to over the course of your career that you want to go back to afterwards to truly get a sense of it?
Greece. We went to Athens, and I didn't really get to experience the country or the place much, so I definitely want to go back there.
Is that to go see all the monuments, or is it
Yeah, that
to do
sort of
something
stuff, and yeah, we'll say that.
Well, what do you want to say? What's on your mind? You want to
Just
drink
go have a
ouzo
good-
or
just
what?
go have a good time in Greece.
Megaloof?
okay, here we go,
Megaloof.
yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. Yeah, yeah. Go do the Tom Doyle tour, mate. That's what you want to do. What was your first club?
Darwin United.
Oh, shout out Selwyn United. Favorite non-footballing athlete?
I'd have to go LeBron James.
Oh, that's a new one. We haven't had that one before. What is the movie that you want to go back and watch for the first time?
I like The Departed, but I saw Scotty said that last time, so I'd say The Prestige instead.
Oh, good movie. Very good
Who's
movie.
in that one? Is that
Christian Bale, and he plays
Yeah.
the
Twice.
two. Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think I've just
film,
ruined the
right?
movie if you haven't
Good.
watched it. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It came out a long time
Spoiler
ago.
alert.
Yeah.
People have had an opportunity to see it before now.
What was the team that you supported growing up?
I didn't really have a team, so
What?
I'd say my team now is Crystal Palace.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Like
Why?
that, Finn.
Yeah. Why? I don't know. I just like their team. I like the colours, and I liked when they had Zaha in the team.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not the Ted Lasso influence.
No,
And what has been your worst injury? Touch wood, Finn, you're still young.
probably I did my MCL when I was maybe 16 or 17. It was only a grade 2, but it took about 10 weeks to come back from.
And you're currently in Stumptown, so I imagine that coffee is big. What is your
Yeah.
coffee order?
Hot chocolate. I don't really drink coffee.
Yes. One or two marshmallows, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, or a chocolate fish if they have them.
Yeah.
Also
Oh,
common,
brilliant,
yeah,
mate.
but-
You're like me, mate. Well, I haven't grown up. I'm still a hot chocolate, large hot chocolate
Yeah.
with everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
And pasta with cheese, or
Yeah, what do you...
Pasta
I
with
put
cheese.
some. I might start doing it, Finn. Yeah.
It sounds
Wearing
like
the
a
number
coffee diet,
5.
that is.
Yeah.
It's Goffy's diet.
Yeah,
It's
coffee
beige.
diet.
Oh, it's not that beige.
He
I
only
mean,
eats
you've got the
yellow.
culture in there with the cheese. Coffee, I'm sure, would not go down that route, mate.
No, not so much.
And here's your starting 11.
One last thing, Finn. I've been asked to ask you about going out on the town wearing dark shades. Is that something that you do, or you've
that-
seen people do that before?
Is that big in Canterbury? I haven't heard about that one before,
Who
Tom.
said that? Before
No.
I
Hey,
no,
that's
we-
not for
we
you.
don't
Don't
reveal
worry
our
about that. No,
sources.
no, you don't worry about that. When did this happen?
When?
Why?
Did this happen? I don't know. It just happened one day. I just had some black glasses, and I decided to wear them for a team event, and they kind of stuck with me for a few more.
The lights in the nightclub just too bright for you?
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Who asked?
No, don't you worry about that. All right?
I'd really like to know.
We can't tell you.
No,
Okay.
mind your
Okay,
business.
But, I
have
mean,
my-
how-
I have
how
my
many-
suspicions, but
Okay, name names then. Off you go.
I'm not going to name names if you're not going to name names.
That's
Well,
fair.
it's a case of like how many times did
Don't
you wear the
take a
glasses out? So how many people had the opportunity to see you wear those glasses who could have told us?
Yeah,
We
that's a
couldn't
good
see
point.
you. It's only
Potentially quite a
glasses.
few. Yeah. No, you can see through glasses. You could see through them.
Right.
It's true.